Have you ever felt the touch of someone's love, though they were miles away? Have you ever dreamed of your beloved, only to wake with the warmth of their presence still upon you? In this message, you'll discover how to send telepathic love signals and connect with your specific person while you sleep, using the same divine law that governs imagination and feeling. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you will learn how to awaken the infinite within you and call forth love from the unseen realm into form. My friends, there was a night many years ago when I sat quietly by my window, longing for the presence of one I loved. The world around me was still, but within me there was a whisper, a feeling not of distance, but of oneness. I did not reach outward for her, I turned inward. I imagined her beside me. I heard her voice as vividly as though it was spoken aloud. I felt her hand upon mine, warm, alive, and real. And as I fell asleep in that feeling, the line between dream and waking dissolved. I awoke the next morning with the unmistakable sense that something had shifted. And within days, that invisible communion found its way into the outer world. She wrote to me, describing a dream she had that very night. "You were there," she said. "I felt your love. What took place was no accident. It was the outworking of divine law, the telepathic connection with a specific person, the silent communication of love through the subconscious mind during sleep." You see, when you rest, the conscious mind sleeps, but imagination, that divine reality, remains awake. It is then, in that sacred stillness, that your manifestation while you sleep begins. You may think you are merely dreaming, yet you are creating, for the unseen world is the seedbed of the seen. To connect with your SP while you sleep, do not beg, do not wish, but assume. Assume the feeling of love fulfilled, as though your beloved lies beside you, breathing in harmony with your own. Feel the warmth, the peace, the certainty. That feeling is the telepathic signal that bridges space and time. The imagination is the bridge between minds, the invisible thread that binds soul to soul, heart to heart. It is not a thing of fancy or idle daydreaming, but the living power that shapes the unseen and gives it form. Many believe that communication requires speech or gesture, yet the truest communion occurs in silence. When thought clothed in feeling travels from one consciousness to another, needing no word, no letter, no sound. This is the mystery of the inner world, where separation is but an illusion and distance dissolves before the creative power of thought. You may sit alone in your room and imagine the face of one you love. You may hear their laughter, their voice, or the gentle rhythm of their breathing. Though your eyes see emptiness, something profound is taking place. The moment you imagine with feeling, the energy of your thought moves forth like light, reaching the one upon whom your heart is fixed. They may not understand why they suddenly think of you, or why an unexplainable tenderness stirs within them, yet the connection is real. Thought impregnated with emotion becomes a living current that bridges minds and awakens response in the unseen depths of another. To understand this, you must first accept that consciousness is not confined to the body. Each mind is a wave within the same vast ocean of awareness. When you think of someone with love, your wave moves upon the surface of that ocean, touching another and setting it in motion. What you feel deeply, they feel in part, for no idea remains barren in the field of consciousness. The imagination acts as the transmitter, and the feeling as the power that gives it life. Without feeling, imagination is a shadow. With feeling, it becomes substance, reality, a creative act in itself. There was a time when I doubted this law. I believed that communication required effort, letters, meetings, spoken words. Yet one night, longing for a dear friend who was far away, I lay still and imagined a conversation. I did not speak aloud. I pictured her standing before me, smiling. I heard her say, "I am thinking of you." I replied within the silence of my mind, "I know you are." The sensation was so vivid that it seemed to me more real than waking life. I drifted into sleep holding that image, feeling the certainty of her affection. The next day, a message arrived from her, written that very night. "I don't know why," she wrote, "but you filled my thoughts. I dreamed of speaking with you." That was my first true lesson, that imagination, when united with feeling, transcends all physical law. You may call it telepathy, intuition, or the language of the soul. The name does not matter. What matters is understanding that every image you sustain with belief sends forth its own vibration, and this vibration touches those whose minds are open to receive it. The bridge of imagination is not built through effort, but through surrender. You do not strain to make it happen. You simply feel as though the connection already exists. The mind then acts as one, not two. When you imagine the joy of reunion, that joy is felt across the unseen distance. When you dwell upon love fulfilled, that love takes root in the other, as surely as a seed planted in fertile soil. Education in this law begins with awareness of your inner world. You must learn to observe the pictures that play within your mind, for they are the seeds of future experience. Each time you imagine your beloved responding with warmth, speaking with affection, or embracing you in tenderness, you are communicating that reality to their deeper self. You are training the subconscious, both yours and theirs, to accept this union as natural. But if you imagine with doubt or anxiety, you send confusion instead of love. Therefore, you must purify your feeling before you begin. Let peace and certainty be the soil in which your image grows. Think of the imagination as a sacred meeting place, a temple in which you commune with those you love beyond the limits of the physical world. Within that inner temple, time does not exist, and space holds no meaning. When you stand in imagination and see the one you desire, you are truly with them. The heart knows it, even if the senses deny it. And when you sustain that inner meeting long enough, the outer world must conform, for it is only the shadow of the inner. To use this bridge rightly, practice each night before sleep. Let the mind become still and bring to your inner eye the image of your specific person. See them clearly, yet effortlessly. Feel their presence as though they were beside you. Do not plead, do not command. Simply rest in the joy of their companionship. Whisper words of love within, and let the feeling grow until it fills your whole being. In that moment of emotional fullness, you are sending forth the most powerful telepathic signal known to man, the signal of felt reality. Fall asleep in that state, and the bridge of imagination will remain active while you rest. The deeper mind will carry your message across the invisible currents of thought, and the one you love will receive it, often in dream or sudden inspiration. You may wonder why this works. It is because imagination and reality are not two separate realms. What is imagined with conviction becomes the blueprint from which the outer world is fashioned. The one who feels deeply impresses their feeling upon the universal mind, and that mind returns to them an echo of what they have assumed. This is not mere philosophy, but a practical truth. Every great invention, every poem, every act of love begins first as an inner image held with belief. The bridge of imagination is therefore not confined to romance alone. It is the secret behind all creation. So learn to use it wisely. Guard your thoughts, for they travel farther than you know. When you think lovingly of another, you bless them. When you imagine harmony, you create harmony. The invisible bridge between minds is strengthened by every act of kindness, every moment of faith, every vision sustained in peace. If you wish to draw love, then imagine only love. If you wish to heal separation, then feel only union. The power to connect, to influence, to awaken affection lies not in outer words, but in the silent realm of imagination, the true bridge between every human heart. Sleep is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the conscious and the subconscious, the world of form and the world of cause. In waking hours, the mind is scattered among countless impressions, distracted by the outer noise of life. But when the body surrenders to rest, the gate of the inner world opens wide. In that sacred interval before sleep, the creative power within becomes most receptive to impression. It is in this stillness that you may plant the seeds of your deepest desires, for what you assume in that quiet hour will be born into your waking reality. Many treat sleep as an act of oblivion, a simple pause between one day and another. Yet sleep is not a cessation of consciousness, it is a descent into the depths of creation. While your senses lie dormant, your deeper self, that infinite intelligence that governs every beat of your heart, continues its work. It receives the last images, the final emotions, the dominant assumptions of the day, and begins to shape them into form. You may think you rest, but creation never rests. The subconscious mind, tireless and obedient, builds during the night whatever concept of self you have accepted as true before the eyes closed. To understand the power of this moment, one must see sleep as more than a physical necessity. It is a spiritual practice. Each night is an opportunity to align with the reality you wish to experience. If you enter sleep burdened with worry or longing, that feeling of lack seeps into the depths of mind and reappears as difficulty. But if you enter sleep in the state of fulfillment, feeling the joy of your wish accomplished, the subconscious takes that assumption as fact and expresses it through the circumstances of your life. This is the law by which dreams become visible, by which imagination molds substance. Consider that the subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow any seed planted within it, whether of love or fear, abundance or poverty. The act of sleep is like returning to the garden each night. The last thought you hold, the last image you see, the last feeling you nurture. These are the seeds dropped into that soil. Most people, unaware of this law, fall asleep rehearsing failure, reliving disappointment, or dwelling upon what they lack. And when those conditions appear again in waking life, they wonder why misfortune seems to repeat. Yet the answer lies in the silent hour before slumber. What was imagined then has taken root. To use this law consciously, you must treat the moments before sleep as holy ground. Do not drift into unconsciousness, carrying the burdens of the day. Instead, withdraw your attention from the outer world and turn inward to the inner scene of your desire fulfilled. If love is what you seek, imagine the warmth of your beloved beside you. If success is your aim, imagine yourself rejoicing in achievement. The key is not the clarity of the picture, but the intensity of the feeling. The subconscious understands emotion, not words. It responds not to supplication, but to conviction. There was once an evening when I lay restless, torn between doubt and desire. I had spoken my wish, yet the outer world seemed unchanged. I realized that I had spoken it only to the air, not to the depth of myself. So I quieted my mind and sank into the rhythm of my breathing. I saw myself in a scene that implied the wish fulfilled. A simple moment, yet charged with feeling. I felt gratitude as though the thing were already mine. Sleep came softly, like a curtain falling upon a stage. When I awoke, a strange certainty filled me. Within a short time, the external facts rearranged themselves to match that inner scene. What I had assumed in the silence of night became flesh before my eyes. This is why sleep is sacred. It is the rehearsal for awakening. You are not drifting into nothingness, but entering the creative workshop of the universe. The state in which you sleep is the blueprint for the day to come. You need not force the mind. You need only guide it gently into the feeling of accomplishment. Like a child cradled to rest, the mind accepts what it feels to be true and carries it into the depths where all things are possible. Education in this mystery begins with discipline of thought. Do not retire while the mind is filled with chaos. The images impressed upon the subconscious at the edge of sleep have a power unmatched by those formed in waking. They bypass all resistance, all doubt. Therefore, if you would change your life, change the story you tell yourself in that drowsy interval before rest. Whisper to yourself not what is, but what shall be, and feel it as now. The words are but a guide, the feeling is the reality. When that feeling becomes natural, sleep in it, and let the deeper self do the rest. The outer world is a mirror, and sleep is the moment you polish it. You cannot awaken to a new reflection while clutching the old image of self. Release it before you close your eyes. Let forgiveness wash away resentment. Let gratitude dissolve fear. Let love replace loneliness. These emotions are not weak, they are creative powers. When you sleep in love, the world awakens to love. When you sleep in abundance, opportunities appear where none seemed possible. When you sleep in confidence, others sense your strength without a word. Each night you hold the key to transformation. The mind is like a garden that never ceases to grow. It will bring forth whatever you plant, and the planting occurs in that precious moment when consciousness slips beneath the surface. You need not struggle, for creation is effortless to one who feels. The same law that governs the growth of a seed governs the unfolding of your destiny. You plant, you rest, and life brings forth the harvest. So take this as instruction before you sleep tonight. Choose deliberately the state into which you will drift. Feel yourself already possessing what you seek. Let that feeling be the lullaby that carries you into the deep. Do not wait for evidence. The evidence is born of faith. When morning comes, move through the day as though your desire were already a fact, for in truth it is. The unseen is only unseen until your faith makes it visible. Sleep each night in the assumption of your fulfilled dream, and you will awaken not merely refreshed, but renewed, transformed, and aligned with the infinite creative power that never slumbers. Feeling is the secret doorway through which the invisible becomes visible, the unseen dream takes form, and the desired reality unfolds. Thought alone is but the shadow of creation, a sketch without color or life. It is feeling that breathes existence into thought, shaping it into experience. Every event in life, whether joyous or sorrowful, is the echo of a feeling once entertained within the depths of being. The world you see is but the mirror of your inner emotional state, faithfully reflecting what you have felt to be true about yourself and others. To understand this, one must look beyond the intellect and into the heart of consciousness. Feeling is not a fleeting emotion, it is the conviction that something is so. You may affirm with words that you are loved, successful, or free, but if your heart trembles in disbelief, the words remain barren. Yet if you feel love even in the absence of another, if you feel success though the evidence denies it, then the universe bends to the vibration of that feeling and rearranges itself to match it. For life does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you feel as real. Feeling is the signal you send to creation, the language the subconscious understands. The mind that reasons may debate, but the heart that feels commands. When you dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are not merely imagining an outcome. You are entering the state where that outcome already exists. The subconscious takes feeling as fact, for it cannot distinguish between a vividly felt imagination and an event in the outer world. To it, the two are one. Thus, to change your life, you must change what you habitually feel to be true. Consider a simple example. A person may say daily, "I am prosperous," while inwardly feeling fear and lack. Those contradictory emotions are the true prayers heard by creation. The feeling of lack speaks louder than words, for emotion is the vibration of energy itself. Another, who quietly feels the peace and security of abundance, though his purse is empty, will soon find that life brings him opportunity after opportunity. It is not chance, but law. The one who feels rich becomes rich. The one who feels loved becomes love itself. This law operates with mathematical precision. Feeling is the invisible magnet that draws to itself its likeness. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. To dwell in the feeling of love is to send out a telepathic signal of harmony that touches every soul in resonance with it. To dwell in resentment or fear is to invite its reflection from the world around you. Therefore, your task is to master feeling, to direct it deliberately rather than let it wander through moods of chance and habit. Education in this law begins with awareness. You must learn to notice what you feel throughout the day. When an unlovely emotion arises, anger, jealousy, self-pity, recognize it as a creative act in progress. Each emotion sets in motion a chain of events that will return to you in kind. But you possess the power to interrupt that chain. The moment you detect a feeling unworthy of your desired self, replace it with its opposite. Feel forgiveness where you once felt hurt. Feel joy where you once felt disappointment. It is not suppression, but transformation. You lift the vibration of your being and thus alter the destiny unfolding before you. Feeling is also the creative essence behind telepathic love. When you think of your beloved with warmth and affection, you are sending not mere thoughts, but living waves of emotion. These waves move through the invisible currents of consciousness and touch the other's heart, stirring a response that often defies logic. You have felt this yourself. The sudden thought of someone, followed by their message or appearance. This is no coincidence. It is the silent language of feeling at work. What you feel about another becomes your communication to them, whether spoken or not. Therefore, when you desire union, feel the harmony as though it already is. When you wish to be remembered, feel yourself remembered. The world cannot resist the certainty of feeling, for it is the energy from which all things are formed. The greatest misunderstanding of this principle lies in the belief that one must struggle to feel differently. But feeling cannot be forced. It must be accepted. To change feeling, you change the assumption behind it. If you wish to feel loved, assume you are lovable. If you wish to feel free, assume that freedom is your natural state. The mind may argue, but persist in the inner assumption until the feeling becomes natural. Repetition of an idea with emotion fuses it into conviction, and conviction is the root of creation. There was a time when I learned this truth through my own folly. I had spoken of peace, yet inwardly lived in tension. I sought harmony, yet rehearsed conflict in imagination. Life mirrored my hidden state until I grew wary of my own reflection. Then one evening I resolved to feel peace, not as a distant goal, but as a present reality. I sat quietly, breathing as though calm already possessed me. I pictured myself serene and content, and let that image melt into the warmth of genuine relief. Within minutes, the body relaxed, the mind quieted, and something deep within whispered, "It is done." The next day, the outer conditions that had troubled me began to dissolve, replaced by opportunities for rest and understanding. I had changed nothing outside myself, yet everything outside had changed. Feeling is the silent artist that paints the portrait of your life. The world you inhabit is the canvas, and emotion is the brush. When you feel joy, the colors brighten. When you feel despair, they dim. The outer image is not fixed. It shifts with every change of inner tone. To educate oneself in feeling is to gain mastery over destiny itself. Learn to feel deliberately, to choose your emotional state as carefully as one chooses a word, and the world will echo that choice. So when you lie down at night, do not merely think of what you want. Feel it. Let your heart swell with the emotion of completion. If it is love you seek, feel the warmth of arms around you. If it is success, feel the pride of accomplishment. Drift into sleep clothed in that emotion, and know that you have impressed it upon the infinite mind. Feeling is the bridge, the signal, the power. As you master it, you master the language of creation itself. For the universe speaks in only one tongue, the vibration of feeling. Conviction is the foundation upon which every miracle stands. Without it, imagination is a wavering shadow. With it, imagination becomes the architect of worlds. The law of assumption for love operates not through effort or pleading, but through a calm and steadfast conviction that the desire is already fulfilled. Faith is not a desperate hope for what might come, but a serene acceptance that what is imagined exists now, unseen yet inevitable. This law does not respond to anxious striving, for anxiety is the confession of doubt. It yields only to inner certainty, the quiet knowing that love is yours, that harmony is yours, that the unseen has already taken shape and waits only to reveal itself in time. To assume is to claim inwardly that something is true, even before the evidence of the senses agrees. It is to act, think, and feel from the end, from the completion of the desire, not its pursuit. Most people fail to understand this and therefore struggle. They wait for proof before believing, never realizing that proof appears only after belief is made firm. The law of assumption teaches that reality is molded by consciousness, and consciousness takes its form from what one accepts as real. If you would experience love, you must first assume that you are loved, not as a fantasy but as an inner fact. The outer world is a reflection, and reflection cannot appear before its image. The beauty of this law lies in its simplicity. You are asked not to strive, not to convince others, not to chase love through action, but to rest in the awareness that it already exists within you. To assume the feeling of love fulfilled is to acknowledge the creative power within as complete. When this assumption becomes natural, the universe bends quietly to mirror it. You may not see the mechanism by which it happens. You may not perceive the invisible steps that align events, but they occur with precision. For the subconscious mind accepts your conviction as instruction and brings to life what you feel to be true. There was a time when I desired reconciliation with someone from whom I had drifted apart. For weeks I tried outward means, messages, gestures, explanations. Yet each attempt seemed only to widen the distance. At last, weary of effort, I turned inward. I asked myself what I truly believed. Beneath my words, I still felt separation, loneliness, and doubt. Those feelings were the roots of my experience. So I ceased the outer pursuit and began to practice the inner assumption. Each night before sleep, I imagined our bond restored, the warmth of affection flowing freely. I did not imagine how it would happen, only that it already had. I let the scene become vivid, the feeling real, until peace replaced longing. In a matter of days, an unforeseen event brought us together naturally, without strain or planning. That experience became a living testament that assumption, held with conviction, commands results that action alone could never produce. Conviction must be cultivated, for the mind often rebels with its old patterns. Doubt whispers, "It isn't here," while faith answers, "It already is." You must train yourself to listen to faith until it becomes louder than doubt. This training is the true spiritual discipline. It begins with awareness of what you habitually assume. Do you assume rejection more readily than affection? Do you assume difficulty rather than ease? Each assumption, though silent, is a seed cast into the soil of the subconscious. The harvest is inevitable. To change the crop, you must change the seed, your conviction. Conviction is not loud, it is still, unwavering, and sure. It does not argue with appearances, it overlooks them. When you assume the feeling of love fulfilled, you do not concern yourself with whether the phone rings or the letter arrives. You know that it must, for the world is compelled to mirror your inner state. The outer delay is not denial, but gestation. The law operates in silence, bringing to birth what has been conceived in faith. Your task is only to remain faithful to the assumption, to dwell in it as your home. When you find yourself wavering, return gently to the feeling of completion. Each return strengthens conviction until it becomes the natural state of your being. In this process, imagination is your workshop and feeling is your proof. You do not need evidence from the world. You need only the inner sensation that your desire is real. This sensation, once accepted, reshapes the subconscious blueprint. It is as if a new pattern of vibration is impressed upon the invisible fabric of reality, and everything corresponding to that pattern is drawn into your experience. The law is exact. The moment conviction replaces doubt, circumstances align with astonishing speed. People change, paths open, and opportunities appear, not through coincidence, but through correspondence. Education in this law means learning to live inwardly, as the person you desire to be before the world acknowledges it. If you seek love, feel the dignity of being cherished now. Walk through the day with the quiet confidence of one who is already adored. If you seek reunion, imagine the joy of it until it feels natural. You may find yourself smiling for no reason, feeling warmth where once there was ache. That is the sign that the assumption has taken root. When it becomes effortless to feel fulfilled, the manifestation is near. The law of assumption is not limited to relationships. It governs every aspect of life, but love provides the most immediate lesson because emotion is so powerful. When you assume you are loved, the vibration of that state radiates through your being, and all who come near feel it. They respond to what you feel about yourself. You need not persuade them. They cannot resist the atmosphere of your conviction. The one who feels unloved repels affection. Even while yearning for it, the one who feels beloved attracts it effortlessly. This is the quiet majesty of the law. When you understand that conviction is creation, you cease to live as a beggar of circumstance. You become the master of your inner world. You realize that nothing is withheld except by your own disbelief. To assume with conviction is to step into the role of creator, to stand within the finished scene and declare, "It is done." From that point, life simply unfolds the details. You no longer chase, you allow. You no longer plead, you know. And in that knowing, the invisible becomes visible, the desired becomes real, and the heart finds rest in the certainty that love, once assumed, can never be lost. Distance is an illusion sustained only by the senses. The mind knows no space, and the heart no separation. What we call distance is merely the appearance of division to those who see with the eyes of flesh rather than with the vision of spirit. In truth, all are bound together within the one field of consciousness. There is no here or there, no near or far, no mine or yours. Only the infinite mind expressing itself through countless forms. The moment you understand this, You realize that the one you love has never been apart from you. You and that being are two currents of the same vast sea of awareness, moving in rhythm even when the waves seem far apart. When you hold someone in thought with genuine feeling, you bridge what the world calls separation. You do not need to reach them through words or movement. The mind, in its higher aspect, transcends time and space. It communicates instantly, not through speech, but through vibration. Every feeling, every image you entertain about another, sends a message through the invisible fabric of consciousness. That message, charged with emotion, is received in the deep of their being, whether they are near or far. Thus, the distance that once seemed impassable becomes irrelevant, for feeling unites where the senses divide. The subconscious mind is not confined to the body. It is universal, shared, and eternal. You are a point of awareness in that limitless field, and so is every other soul. When you impress an idea upon your own subconscious through emotion, that impression is simultaneously transmitted through the great subconscious of humanity. This is why a thought of love or forgiveness toward another can transform a relationship, even when no outward communication occurs. The inner act reaches them, for the one mind connects all. There is but one river of thought, and each of us contributes to its current. To grasp this truth intellectually is easy. To live it requires practice. The senses will insist that you are separate from those you love, that distance or circumstance forbids connection. But these are shadows, and shadows have no substance. You must learn to feel beyond them. When you think of your beloved, imagine not that you are calling across miles, but that you are standing face to face in the silence of your inner world. Feel their presence as though it were here and now. Speak to them inwardly in words of love, but more importantly, feel the warmth of affection flow from you to them. This feeling is not fantasy, it is the language of creation. It is the telepathic current that binds hearts across time and space. There was a night when I tested this law. I wished to comfort someone dear who was far away, troubled and weary. Instead of writing or calling, I withdrew into the stillness of my room and closed my eyes. I pictured her sitting peacefully, a soft light surrounding her. I imagined speaking to her without sound, saying, "You are loved, you are safe, you are free." I felt as though I held her hand and watched the tension melt from her face. The emotion of peace rose within me until it became real. I fell asleep in that feeling. The next morning, a message arrived from her. I don't know why, but last night I felt suddenly calm, as if someone touched my heart. That was the moment I knew that distance had never been the barrier I once believed. This law works because consciousness is indivisible. What you imagine within yourself touches the whole of creation. The same principle that allows you to recall a memory or anticipate a future moment operates in communication between minds. The mind does not travel, it simply tunes into the vibration of that which it contemplates. When you think of someone intensely, you tune to their frequency in the universal field. Feeling then becomes the bridge of exchange. The emotion you hold, whether love, anger, or indifference, flows instantly across that invisible link and evokes a corresponding response. You need no letter, no message, no meeting. The connection already exists. You need only awaken to it. The practical use of this truth lies in conscious direction. When you dwell in thoughts of harmony, forgiveness, and unity, you heal the unseen bonds between yourself and others. When you dwell in fear, jealousy, or blame, you disturb those same bonds. You cannot escape this law, but you can govern it. Therefore, use your inner world as the sacred ground upon which reconciliation, affection, and peace are built. Each time you imagine lovingly, you strengthen the invisible threads that bind you to all life. Each time you feel bitterness, you thicken the veil that seems to divide you. The choice is yours in every moment. This law also reveals why prayer and meditation have such power. In those states, you withdraw from the outer sense of separation and rest in the truth of oneness. You commune with the desired state or person through imagination and emotion. You see them as healed, happy, or loving, and because there is no distance in mind, they receive that vision as their own. This is not suggestion but resonance. The vibration you sustain within yourself vibrates through the whole. The wave you send returns amplified, for love always multiplies itself when released without resistance. Education in this truth begins with small experiments. Think of a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Send them a thought of joy or gratitude and then release it. Do not wonder if it worked. Simply know that the message was received. You may find that within days they reach out unexpectedly, or you encounter them by seeming chance. Such experiences are not coincidences, but the natural correspondence of one consciousness to another. The more you practice, the more you realize that what the world calls distance is only an appearance, a thin veil easily parted by the steady light of awareness. To live by this understanding is to move in love unbroken by circumstance. The one who sees unity feels at peace, for nothing can truly be lost or far away. The love you give inwardly travels instantly to its mark. The forgiveness you extend silently releases both giver and receiver. When you walk in this awareness, life becomes a conversation between souls rather than bodies. The eyes may close, the miles may stretch, yet the communion continues, mind speaking to mind, heart answering heart, for the subconscious mind unites all hearts that feel as one. Sleep is the divine workshop of creation, the silent chamber where every image impressed upon the mind begins to take form. In the stillness of night, when the outer world grows quiet and the senses release their grip, the deeper mind awakens to its creative task. What you assume and feel as true before you surrender to sleep becomes the blueprint from which tomorrow's experiences are built. Each night, whether in awareness or ignorance, you enter this sacred state and give your subconscious the material it will use to shape your world. To understand this mystery is to recognize that sleep is not a passive rest, but a powerful act of creation. The waking mind is the gatekeeper, analyzing, reasoning, and often doubting. It can accept or reject ideas. It can argue with imagination. But when the body grows heavy and the conscious mind drifts towards sleep, the gatekeeper steps aside. In that twilight interval, the door to the subconscious stands open, and whatever feeling dominates the heart at that moment flows freely into it. The subconscious, being without reason, accepts every impression as fact. It does not question truth or falsehood, possible or impossible. It only knows how to express what it receives. Thus, the state you carry into slumber is the seed you plant in the fertile soil of the infinite within. If you enter sleep rehearsing the day's disappointments, your subconscious will multiply them, for it assumes the emotion of failure as your desire. If you drift into rest filled with worry or loneliness, the law must return those feelings to you as experience. But if you fall asleep in the feeling of fulfillment, if you imagine that all you long for is already accomplished, then the unseen forces of life begin at once to arrange themselves in harmony with that assumption. The outer world may not change overnight, but it will inevitably bend to match the vibration impressed upon the deeper mind. This is why every great change begins in the silence of night. The subconscious mind never sleeps. While the body rests, it continues to weave the threads of your assumptions into the tapestry of waking life. It takes the pattern impressed upon it and reproduces it faithfully, as soil brings forth whatever seed is sown. To master this process, you must become the deliberate sower of your nightly garden. You must learn to enter sleep as the person you wish to be, not as the one you have been. To manifest through sleep requires no strain, only gentle direction. As you prepare for rest, withdraw your attention from the outer world. Let go of the day's noise and concerns. Turn your gaze inward and create in imagination the scene that would naturally follow the fulfillment of your desire. If your wish is love, see yourself embraced by the one you adore. Feel their presence as real. Breathe in the peace of unity. If your wish is success, see yourself rejoicing in achievement, feeling gratitude flow through every part of you. Whatever you choose, let the feeling of accomplishment be your lullaby. Do not force the mind to see every detail. Emotion is the key, not precision. The subconscious responds to feeling, not words. When the emotion of fulfillment becomes vivid, allow sleep to overtake you. During the hours that follow, the deeper mind receives that feeling as a command. It begins to move through channels unseen, influencing events, guiding impulses, drawing together the means by which the imagined state will externalize itself. You need not know how, Creation does not require your supervision. The seed planted grows without the farmer's watchful eye. It simply obeys the law of its nature. So too does the subconscious bring forth the fruit of your assumption. Your task is only to choose wisely the feeling you carry into the night, for the harvest will surely come. There was once a man who longed to mend a broken relationship. Each night he went to bed troubled, replaying arguments and disappointments. The more he did so, the more distant the loved one became, for he was impressing separation upon his subconscious. At last, weary of sorrow, he decided to test the power of assumption in sleep. He began to imagine his beloved smiling at him with forgiveness and warmth. He felt the joy of reconciliation until it seemed completely real. That feeling accompanied him into slumber. Within a week, a message arrived, gentle and sincere, rekindling the bond he thought lost. The outer act followed the inner impression as surely as day follows night. The discipline of nightly creation requires persistence. The mind, trained by years of habit, may resist at first, returning to old feelings of lack or doubt. But as you practice, you will discover that feeling is easier than thinking. Thought can be divided, but feeling is whole. When you feel the truth of your desire, there is no argument left in the mind. The heart accepts it and the subconscious obeys. That obedience is absolute. It has no choice but to express the belief impressed upon it. Understanding this, one sees that every night is a new beginning. The past matters only as long as you rehearse it. The moment you choose a new state and sleep in it, you are reborn in consciousness. The outer world will soon reflect that new birth. The wise therefore treat the interval before sleep as sacred, guarding it from unlovely thoughts. They end each day not in complaint but in gratitude, not in fear but in peace. They know that the imagination they carry into the night is the seed of tomorrow's harvest. If humanity understood the creative power of sleep, the world would transform within a generation. The hours of rest, once thought wasted, would become the most productive. Each person would go to bed consciously shaping their destiny, instead of repeating the patterns of yesterday. The world outside would shine with harmony, because the inner worlds of men and women would be sound with love, abundance, and joy. Learn, therefore, to use the passage into sleep as a sacred ritual of creation. The state you assume as you drift into slumber is the womb of your future. Feel your desire fulfilled before the mind dissolves into the depths, and know that the unseen intelligence within you will give it life. When you awaken, carry the peace of that feeling into the day, confident that the work has been done. For in truth, the manifestation while you sleep allows you to impress your desire upon the deeper mind, and that mind, faithful beyond measure, will never fail to bring forth what you have dared to feel as real. Every mental image, felt as real, becomes a silent communication to the one it concerns. Thoughts are not confined to the boundaries of the skull, nor are feelings imprisoned within the chest. Every image you hold with conviction sends forth its own invisible vibration into the vast field of consciousness that connects all life. When that image is infused with emotion, it becomes a living force, a message written not in words but in energy. It moves through the unseen realm, touching the subconscious of those whose lives are intertwined with yours, and they respond to it in ways that appear to the world as coincidence, chance, or intuition. But these are not accidents, they are the reflections of your inner vision made manifest. You must first understand that imagination and reality are not two separate kingdoms. The outer world is but the crystallized form of the inner. Every relationship, every encounter, every event in your life began first as an image impressed upon the subconscious, either by deliberate choice or by habitual thought. The mind is a transmitter and receiver at once, and what you continually project through imagination and feeling will inevitably return to you in experience. Thus, when you think of your beloved, your friend, your family, or any being, the mental picture you form and the emotion that accompanies it are received by them, consciously or unconsciously. This is the secret communication that binds all hearts, the telepathic communion of feeling. If you imagine another with love, seeing them happy, whole, and at peace, you are blessing them in the most profound way. That image, sustained with feeling, moves into their own subconscious and awakens in them the state you have pictured. Soon they find themselves inclined toward harmony, drawn toward you by the unseen magnet of your thought. But if you indulge in anger, jealousy, or resentment, the same law operates with equal precision. You send that image as well, and it returns to you through the mirror of relationship. The law is impersonal. It responds only to what is impressed upon it. Therefore, the wise learn to discipline imagination and govern emotion, knowing that every picture felt as real becomes a creative act. There was once a woman who loved deeply but lived in constant fear that her affection was unreturned. Night after night she imagined her beloved distant and indifferent. Though she longed for closeness, the feeling she sustained was one of separation. Life faithfully reflected that feeling, and the distance she imagined became her reality. One evening she chose to reverse her inner world. She began to picture her beloved smiling at her, speaking words of kindness. She felt the warmth of mutual love until her heart overflowed with gratitude. She fell asleep in that feeling, and within days the one she had imagined wrote to her expressing affection and understanding. What had changed was not the outer person, but the inner image. She had been sending a new message, and the subconscious of the other had answered it. This principle may seem mystical, yet it is the most practical truth in existence. The subconscious of every being is connected to the universal mind. When you hold an image with deep emotion, you are impressing it not only upon your own inner self, but upon the shared field of consciousness. You are participating in the continuous creation of the world. Every image felt as real becomes a cause, and every cause must have its effect. Whether it concerns love, friendship, health, or success, the law is unchanging. Feel the reality of the desired state, and it must externalize itself. In the realm of love, this law becomes especially powerful because emotion amplifies imagination. Love, when genuinely felt, carries the highest vibration of harmony. When you think of your beloved and imagine them surrounded by your affection, you are not daydreaming. You are transmitting energy that the other cannot resist. They may not know why they suddenly feel tender or drawn towards you, yet the cause lies within your own feeling. This is why it is said that love never fails. It operates in harmony with the creative nature of the universe. Education in this law begins with conscious awareness of what you are imagining about others. Every time you think of someone, ask yourself, what picture am I forming? What feeling accompanies it? Are you seeing them as distant, unkind, uninterested? Then that is the message you send. Replace that image with its opposite. See them as loving, present, responsive. Feel the warmth of their company as though it were taking place now. Persist in that feeling until it becomes natural. The moment it feels real to you, the message has been delivered. You may forget the exercise, but the seed is planted, and the harvest will come in its own time. You need not attempt to force another's behavior, for the law does not operate through manipulation. It operates through resonance. When you dwell in a feeling of love, those who are in harmony with that vibration are drawn to you naturally. When you feel peace, you magnetize peace. When you feel rejection, you attract more of it. This is why feeling must be chosen deliberately, not left to drift upon the winds of circumstance. You are the sender of every signal that determines the quality of your relationships. The most fertile moment for this work is the period before sleep, when the conscious mind grows still. As you lie in bed, think of your beloved and construct in imagination a simple scene that implies the wish fulfilled. A warm conversation, a loving embrace, a moment of joy. Do not visualize in effort or strain. Simply allow the feeling of completion to fill you. When that emotion becomes dominant, let sleep overtake you. The subconscious will carry the message to its destination, and the law will set in motion whatever is required to bring it into physical manifestation. Every mental image, therefore, is not a private fantasy, but a creative act of communication. The world you experience is your conversation with the unseen. What you imagine about yourself and others returns to you multiplied. Choose to imagine lovingly, and you build invisible bridges of connection. Imagine harm, and you build barriers that isolate you. The difference between heaven and hell lies not in distance, but in vibration. The one who masters feeling and imagination becomes the conscious sender of beauty, peace, and love into the great web of mind that unites us all. And in return, life itself answers in the same language, for every mental image, felt as real, becomes telepathic communication with your specific person, and through that the means by which love reveals its infinite power. Imagination creates reality. This is not a poetic metaphor, nor a hopeful superstition, but the fundamental law that governs all experience. Everything that appears in the outer world, every relationship, every condition, every event, is born first in the invisible workshop of the mind. What you imagine and feel to be true becomes the mold into which life itself flows. The world you see is your own imagination made visible, the solidified record of your inner assumptions. To change your world, you must change your imagination, for nothing exists independently of it. Imagination is not daydreaming or idle fancy. It is the creative power in action, the shaping force of consciousness. It is the same power that brought the universe into being, now individualized in you, waiting to be directed with purpose. The images you hold with feeling are not confined to thought. They are the seeds of form. When you imagine yourself in a state of fulfillment, you are not pretending. You are creating the pattern from which the unseen intelligence of life will fashion the corresponding reality. The invisible always precedes the visible. Imagination is the cause, and the outer world its effect. Every man and woman lives within the structure of their own imagining. Some do so unconsciously, reacting to appearances, believing the world acts upon them. Others awaken to the truth that their own assumptions act upon the world. The moment you realize that imagination is the root of experience, you cease to live as a victim of circumstance and become the master of it. You understand that the conditions of life are not fixed, they are fluid, responsive to the images impressed upon the deeper self. To imagine deliberately is to assume dominion over destiny. This law is demonstrated most clearly in the realm of feeling. Every assumption must be accompanied by emotion if it is to take root. It is not enough to think, "I am loved," or "I am successful." The mere statement has no creative power unless it is clothed in the feeling of its reality. Feeling is the lifeblood of imagination. It animates the image, giving it vitality and substance. When you feel yourself to be the person you wish to be, the universe must reflect that state back to you, for the outer world is obedient to the inner conviction. Imagination creates through identification. You cannot simply wish for a thing, you must become it in consciousness. To imagine love while feeling lonely is to remain lonely, for the feeling contradicts the image. But to imagine love and feel the warmth of it as though it were already yours is to impress the subconscious with the state of union. The subconscious, being faithful, expresses only what it is fed. It cannot originate ideas, it can only reproduce what the imagination impresses upon it. Therefore, your inner images, sustained with conviction, become the blueprint for outer expression. Consider how every invention, every work of art, every discovery began as an image in the mind of one who believed it possible. The architect first sees the building within before it stands upon the earth. The musician hears the melody inwardly before the first note is played. The lover feels the embrace before it occurs. In every case, imagination precedes realization. To the unawakened, this seems magical. To the wise, it is the most natural process of life. Creation is always finished in the invisible before it is seen by the eyes. To use this law consciously, one must train the imagination to dwell upon the desired state rather than upon the facts of the moment. Facts are the echoes of past imagination. They have no power except the attention you give them. When you turn from appearances and persist in imagining the world as you wish it to be, you are not denying reality. You are creating a higher one. The senses may contradict you, but the senses are slow. Imagination moves swiftly, shaping the unseen currents that will soon appear as new conditions. Persist, therefore, in the unseen, and the seen must follow. There was once a man who lived in constant struggle, convinced that fortune and success were reserved for others. He spoke of his hardships often and rehearsed his failures in thought, until they became his identity. One day he learned that imagination was the secret power behind every manifestation. That night, he decided to experiment. Instead of reviewing his troubles, he began to imagine himself as one already successful, secure, and fulfilled. He saw himself walking confidently, speaking words of accomplishment, feeling gratitude as though all were complete. He persisted in this inner picture each night before sleep, not seeking evidence, but enjoying the sensation of success. In a matter of weeks, new opportunities appeared, doors opened, and his life began to mirror his new assumption. The outer world had changed because he had changed his inner imagining. Education in this law begins with discipline of attention. The mind, left to wander, clings to habit and fear. You must guide it gently, but firmly toward the state you wish to express. Each time you notice yourself imagining what you do not want, stop and replace the picture. See what you wish to see, feel what you wish to feel, and let that become your dwelling place. The imagination must be lived in as a reality, not visited occasionally as a hope. You must move into it in consciousness until it feels natural. Then, without effort, life will conform. When you understand that imagination creates reality, you will treat your inner world with reverence. You will no longer indulge in thoughts of envy, anger, or defeat, knowing they are creative acts that must return to you. You will nurture thoughts of love, abundance, and joy, for these too must return. The outer world is a mirror. It cannot reflect what has not been imagined. Every circumstance, whether wanted or unwanted, testifies to a prior image held within. Change the image, and the reflection must change. Imagination is not bound by time. The future you long for already exists within the eternal now, waiting for you to claim it. When you enter the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you step into that reality, and from that moment, events begin to unfold to bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen. The bridge may appear as coincidence, opportunity, or inspiration, but it is all the same law at work. The unseen is becoming seen through the power of your assumption. Therefore, honor your imagination as the sacred creative force it is. Every act of feeling and every vision of the heart is a seed sown in the infinite garden of consciousness. To imagine lovingly is to plant flowers. To imagine fearfully is to sow weeds. The harvest is certain, for imagination never fails to bear fruit. Live each day as the artist of your world, painting it first upon the canvas of mind with the colors of faith and feeling. Then watch as life itself mirrors back your masterpiece, for imagination creates reality, and the world must forever echo the song that you dare to sing within. When all these truths are gathered together, they reveal one radiant principle, that the imagination, governed by feeling and sustained by conviction, is the creative power within every being. It is the invisible bridge between hearts, the language through which love, abundance, and harmony express themselves. What you hold inwardly as real, life must mirror outwardly as fact. There is no distance to the mind that feels unity, no delay to the heart that sleeps in fulfillment, no barrier to the one who assumes with certainty that the unseen is already done. Each keynote, whether it speaks of telepathic connection, the creative sleep, the transforming power of feeling, or the eternal law of assumption, points to one unchanging law. Consciousness is the only reality. You are not a passive observer of life, but its author. The world you see is the reflection of your inner state, molded each moment by your imagination. When you understand this, you cease to plead with the outer world and begin to command it through inner alignment. The mind is the instrument, feeling the voice, and imagination the hand of creation. Use them deliberately, reverently, and with love. Fall asleep each night clothed in the emotion of your fulfilled desire. Send forth thoughts of harmony to every soul you encounter. Refuse to dwell in fear or lack, for these are illusions born of forgetfulness. Remember always that you are one with the creative power that shapes galaxies and moves stars. The moment you accept this truth, you awaken from the dream of separation and discover that heaven is not a distant realm, but a state of consciousness. To imagine the good, to feel it as real, to live from it as though it were already yours. This is the highest form of worship, the true communion with the infinite. And when this becomes your way of being, love flows naturally, dreams solidify into experience, and life reveals itself as the perfect mirror of the divine imagination within you.